Bandar Abbas, Iran's most important naval installation, home to the IRGC 1st Naval District, the headquarters that controls the Strait of Hormuz. According to FDD's analysis, the port held frigates, fast attack craft, the newly commissioned drone carrier Shahid Bagheri, and the forward base ship IRIS Makran, all within a few hundred meters of each other. According to USNI News, many of Iran's largest ships had not dispersed ahead of U.S. operations. They were sitting exactly where they had always been. At 1:15 local time on February 28, 2026, according to CENTCOM's statement, the first weapons of Operation Epic Fury were released. The initial shooters were not aircraft. According to General Dan Kane at the Pentagon briefing, the first shooters at sea were Tomahawks unleashed by the United States Navy, which closed in on Iranian naval forces and began to conduct strikes across the southern flank in Iran. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers positioned across the Gulf of Oman and Persian Gulf were already putting missiles in the air. Each Tomahawk Block 5, according to Army recognition specifications, flies at approximately Mach 0.74. Subsonic, terrain following, GPS, and inertial navigation with a two-way data link. According to the war zones reporting on the strikes, at least one black-coated variant spotted in released imagery was assessed as the Maritime Strike Tomahawk, the Block VA variant with an active maritime seeker designed for moving ship targets. The weapons were already in flight before anyone at Bandar Abbas had heard the air raid warning. Of every vessel in the harbor, the Shahid Bagheri was the first priority. According to Naval News' reporting, the ship was converted from a 240-meter container ship, entered IRGC service on February 6, 2025, less than 4 weeks before the war, and could embark up to 60 unmanned aerial vehicles, including Shahed 136 loitering munitions, Mohajer 6 armed drones, and JAS 313 unmanned jets. According to Army recognition, it could reportedly sustain up to a year at sea without refueling. It was, in effect, a floating drone factory positioned 3 miles from the burning frigates. The weapon selected to address it was the AGM-158C LRASM, the long-range anti-ship missile. According to GlobalSecurity.org's air campaign analysis, the LRASM was the primary anti-ship weapon employed by the air component against the IRGC Navy surface fleet. What makes the LRASM operationally distinct from older anti-ship missiles is that it does not need to be told exactly where to go. According to GlobalSecurity.org, it uses autonomous navigation, passive sensors, and onboard classification to identify specific vessel types from among a group of surface contacts. No GPS dependency, no data link once released. The weapon finds its own target. According to Army recognition specifications, the LRASM cruises at just under Mach 0.9, carries a 1,000-pound blast fragmentation warhead, and can be launched from over 500 miles away, meaning the F/A-18 that fires, it is already climbing back toward a tanker before the weapon reaches its target. It descends to wave-top altitude on passive sensors, listening for radar emissions from the ship rather than broadcasting its own position. According to GlobalSecurity.org, the Shahid Bagheri was struck in the campaign's opening hours as part of coordinated multi-axis attacks combining LRASM rounds from B-1B aircraft alongside F/A-18 launched weapons. 180 miles east of Bandar Abbas, at the Konarak Naval Base on the Gulf of Oman, a Jamaran-class frigate sat moored at its pier. The Jamaran class, Iran's domestically designed surface combatant, according to Army recognition's analysis, displaces approximately 1,500 tons, measures 95 meters in length, and carries Noor anti-ship cruise missiles with a range of 120 to 170 kilometers, alongside surface-to-air missiles and torpedo launchers. These ships were the backbone of Iran's attempt to operate as a blue water navy, on paper, a credible threat. On the morning of February 28th, a pier-side target. According to CENTCOM's statement released shortly after the strikes, an Iranian Jamaran-class corvette was struck by U.S. forces during the start of Operation Epic Fury. The ship is currently sinking to the bottom of the Gulf of Oman at a Chabahar pier. According to Naval News' reporting, commercial satellite imagery showed smoke rising from the naval wharf at Konarak, where the frigate had been docked. Striking a ship at pier, according to Army Recognition's operational analysis, is primarily a kill chain problem, persistent ISR, target confirmation, and then a standoff weapon that can penetrate defenses with limited warning. According to CENTCOM's March 2nd statement on X, 2 days ago, the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, they have 0. Every vessel that had been stationed east of the Strait of Hormuz before the operation began was reportedly addressed within the first 48 hours. The eastern approach to the strait, the one Iran had spent decades positioning forces to control, was reportedly clear. Back at Bandar Abbas, one ship was harder to address than a warship, not because it was better defended, but because of what it was carrying. The IRIS Makran was a converted oil tanker Iran had repurposed as its first forward base ship. According to FDD's analysis, the vessel was capable of supporting helicopters and special operations forces independent of shore-based infrastructure. According to Naval News, satellite imagery from March 2nd showed the IRIS Makran on fire after being struck at its pier at Bandar Abbas. The strike weapon for a vessel this size, a converted tanker with compartmentalized construction, required something that would breach the hull below the waterline and reach internal fuel and cargo spaces. According to GlobalSecurity.org's air campaign analysis, GBU-31, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, 2,000-pound GPS-guided bombs, were among the weapons employed against Bandar Abbas pier targets. According to Navy Times, the Makran was burning but not immediately sinking, watertight compartments doing what they were designed to do. They were keeping the hull afloat as fire spread through the superstructure. The strategic significance of the Makran went beyond the ship itself. According to USNI News, the forward base ship was capable of supporting helicopters and special operations forces independent of shore-based infrastructure, meaning it was Iran's tool for projecting naval presence into the Indian Ocean and beyond without relying on fixed ports. According to FDD's analysis, its loss, combined with the Shahid Bagheri, removed Iran's 2 mobile sea basing platforms simultaneously in the operation's opening hours. While the Tomahawks and LRASMs were addressing the large hull targets in port, Iran's fast attack boat fleet had a different response. It dispersed. According to Army Recognition's analysis of IRGC naval doctrine, the fast attack fleet, Paycap missile boats, a Zulfiqar craft, Siraj high-speed boats, was designed for rapid hit-and-run attacks against commercial shipping and military vessels, and their tactical response to air attack was to scatter into the strait's commercial shipping lanes using tankers and container ships as cover. Addressing a fast boat moving at 50 knots between a Singaporean container ship and an LNG tanker requires a weapon that can be held on target and released with precision inside a few meters of accuracy. According to reporting on the MH-60R Romeo helicopter's weapons employment in this theater, the AGM-114 Hellfire missile, a laser-guided weapon with a roughly 9-kilogram warhead, was the standard choice for exactly this scenario. Precise enough to engage a target 50 meters from a civilian hull without the blast radius becoming a diplomatic incident. According to Air Force Times, a 10 Warthogs operating over the strait added the GAU-8/A Avenger cannon, 3,900 rounds per minute of 30 millimeters, against fast attack craft in open water where separation from civilians made a gun run viable. According to General Kane's March 19th briefing statement, A-10s were hunting and engaging fast attack watercraft in the Strait of Hormuz. The boats that stayed close to civilian shipping, however, created an operational constraint that no weapon system fully solved. They could be tracked, they could not always be engaged, 6 days after the opening strikes, the naval campaign reached somewhere no one in Iran expected. The IRIS Dena, a Mauj-class frigate that had been participating in India's multinational Milan 2026 naval exercises, was 2,000 miles from the Persian Gulf. She transiting international waters toward home. According to Wikipedia's entry on the sinking, the USS Charlotte, a Los Angeles-class fast-attack submarine, fired 2 Mark 48 AD cap heavyweight torpedoes. One struck the IRIS Dena. According to Wikipedia, the ship sank within 2 to 3 minutes. The Mark 48 AD cap in its current Mod 7 configuration, according to globalsecurity.org, carries a 295 kilogram PBXN 103 high explosive warhead and is wire-guided. The submarine maintains steering control through a thin wire connection throughout the weapon's run. According to the Pentagon briefing reported by Military Times, Defense Secretary Hegseth described the engagement simply: an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. The last American submarine torpedo kill before the IRIS Dena, according to globalsecurity.org, was USS Torsk on August 14, 1945, the day before Japan's surrender. That gap was 81 years. The strategic message of the Dena sinking was not about one frigate. According to globalsecurity.org's analysis, no Iranian warship was safe anywhere on the open ocean while American nuclear-powered submarines were at sea. Iran's remaining surface ships, wherever they were, now had to factor that into every underway decision they made. By day 8, according to globalsecurity.org's air campaign analysis, CENTCOM reported addressing 43 Iranian warships. By March 3rd, Admiral N. Cooper confirmed the most operational Iranian submarine had been reached, assessed by analysts as likely the Kilo-class boat struck at its Bandar Abbas pier, according to the war zone. By March 16th, Cooper confirmed more than 100 Iranian naval vessels addressed. By March 19th, General Kane's figure was 120 or more vessels and 44 mine layers. By March 31st, day 32, Kane confirmed the figure had risen to more than 150. What that number represents in practical terms is the effective dismantling of Iran's organized naval force. According to USNI News's reporting, the Iranian Regular Navy and IRGC Navy combined had more than 100 vessels before the operation. Hegseth's description of the Iranian Navy as combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated reflected the scale of what had reportedly been achieved. According to Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, former Carrier Strike Group commander speaking to NPR, Iran's submarine threat has been eliminated, and there's not going to be an Iranian Air Force coming up or Iranian air defense assets. But the Strait of Hormuz remained largely closed. That is the honest assessment as of late March 2026. Fast attack boats that dispersed into commercial shipping lanes are still out there. Naval mines, roughly a dozen confirmed Maham-3 and Maham-7 devices, are reportedly still in the water, according to CBS News and Maritime Executive. Shore-based anti-ship missiles remain a factor, and Iran's Fajr-5 rocket system can reportedly still deploy mines from land without any vessel being exposed. The fleet is gone. The blockade has not been fully broken. But those are two different problems, and only one of them has been solved. In 48 hours, according to CENTCOM, every Iranian warship in the Gulf of Oman was gone. In 8 days, 43 vessels had been reached. In 32 days, the count had passed 150. A fleet that Iran spent decades building: frigates, a drone carrier, a submarine, a forward base ship, mine layers, fast attack craft, was reportedly off the board in the time it takes most armies to finish their morning briefings. What the U.S. Navy demonstrated in Operation Epic Fury was not just that it could address Iran's fleet. It demonstrated that it could reach an Iranian warship 2,000 miles away on a routine transit after a peaceful naval exercise. without warning, without announcement, without the target having any idea a submarine was there. That range of reach, that specificity of capability. This is what the phrase, "no Iranian warship was safe anywhere on the open ocean," actually means. And that capability did not go anywhere when the strikes on Bandar Abbas ended. This video is based on publicly available reports, official statements, and defense analysis. Some operational details are reconstructed from verified sources for narrative clarity.